This certainly is a buyer's market, especially for anyone looking for their first house. But for those selling, it means more days on the market, lower prices, and experts expect this trend to continue.
You can replace this text with any text you wish. You can either write in this text box or paste your own text here. Try different languages and voices. Change the speed and the pitch of the voice. You can even tweak the SML, speech synthesis markup language, to control how the different sections of the text sound. Click on SML above to give it a try. Enjoy using text-to-speech. Right now, anyone looking to buy a home is stepping into a buyer's paradise. Inventory is up, prices are softening, and deals that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago are suddenly within reach. But for sellers, it's a completely different story. Properties are lingering on the market longer, price tags are shrinking.
It's a doom and gloom scenario.
Well, Sandy, another report underscoring the economic challenges facing Canadians. And while the softening real estate market is good news for first-time home buyers, the declining housing starts in a country that needs more inventory could mean problems.
And experts warn this isn't a short-term blip. It's the start of a trend that could stretch well into the next few years. For the first time in half a decade, the average home price in the Greater Toronto Area has dipped below the $1 million mark. That's not just a number. It's a seismic shift for a market that has long been the poster child of Canada's real estate boom. Realtor Daniel Zadigan lays it out plainly. Sellers, especially those holding pre-construction condos bought 4 or 5 years ago at the market's peak, are losing not just deposits, but sometimes far more. The condos they bought when interest rates were low and prices were sky high are now turning into financial traps. The market isn't just soft, it's chaotic, with the crash in Toronto rippling outward, exposing cracks in the broader economy. What once seemed unshakable is suddenly fragile. Sales have plummeted, prices are tumbling, construction is slowing, yet the federal government continues to assure Canadians that stability reigns. The condo market has taken the brunt of this shift. Average prices have fallen 27% from their peak last February, pushing studio condos under $300,000 and one-bedroom units near downtown Toronto into the sub-$400,000 range. These are the same units that 2 years ago sold like luxury collectibles, now sitting on the market with price cuts. The contrast is stark, and the numbers are impossible to ignore. At its peak in 2021, Toronto home sales reached 127,000. It was the party year, bidding wars, cheap money, buyers tossing out conditions left and right. Fast forward to 2025, and sales have dropped to roughly 62,000, a near 50% collapse. Half the activity vanished, almost overnight. The average GTA home price is now around $973,000. Condos average $604,000. Detached homes are down 7.7%, losing roughly $150,000 from $1.7 million to $1.55 million. Suburban areas are feeling the squeeze even harder. In the 905 region, prices fell 7.8%, with townhomes in some pockets dropping close to 10%. Six-figure losses for the average family home, yet the official narrative remains oddly calm. Don't worry, it's just market normalization. While this softening is good news for first-time buyers finally able to enter the market, the declining housing starts in a country desperate for more supply could signal trouble down the line. New condo sales in the GTA in 2025 totaled just 1,599 units. That's not a typo. It's down 60% from the previous year and a staggering 91% below the 10-year average. This isn't a cool down, it's a freeze. Experts at CHC openly compare the current situation to the early 1990s crash, when homeowners were underwater for years. Across the country, the trend is unmistakable. In Metro Vancouver, 2,500 new condos are sitting empty, double last year. Toronto's detached home inventory has jumped from 2.86 months to 4.33 months. York and Peel regions are sitting at nearly 6 months. That's historically strong buyer territory, a market where sellers are desperate and buyers hold the cards. Interest rates sit at 2.25%, far lower than the panic-inducing numbers of the past. Yet buyer confidence is frozen. It's not just Toronto. Vancouver apartments are down 34%, Calgary and Edmonton are down 26 to 38%. Low rates aren't enough to pull buyers off the sidelines because confidence has evaporated. It's a national phenomenon. Headlines scream uncertainty. Layoffs rattle industries. Tariffs and trade tensions loom, and the job market wobbles. Why would anyone rush into the biggest purchase of their life in that environment? Meanwhile, Ottawa continues to preach long-term fundamentals: growth, population, stability. But if the fundamentals were truly strong, why are condos sitting unsold at record levels? First-time buyers, who make up nearly half the market, are finally seeing opportunities to step in, but only because sellers are desperate, not because the market is stable. The job picture only adds to the unease. New home sales in December 2025 totaled just 240 units, down 24% from the previous year and 82% below the 10-year average. Builders are pausing projects because risks outweigh potential rewards. Financing costs are high, materials expensive, and economic uncertainty is everywhere. The construction industry warns that up to 100,000 jobs could vanish if activity doesn't recover, putting nearly half of the sector's 225,000 employees at risk. Ontario alone could see a $20 billion hit if construction levels remain depressed. And from the federal level, carefully worded optimism, committees, and long speeches about resilience. That doesn't help the construction worker whose site is now quiet, nor the electrician, framer, or realtor who is watching transaction volumes shrink. Unsold freehold properties have risen by 25% from last year, now at 13,000, with thousands more set to flood the market in 2026. Canada builds roughly 200,000 to 275,000 homes annually under ideal conditions. Everything aligned: financing, labor, materials, approvals. Right now, the conditions are far from ideal. For buyers, this is a moment of rare opportunity. Negotiation power has returned. Condos that once seemed out of reach are now bargains, but the market isn't bottomed yet. Prices could fall further. International migration, which peaked at over 1 million people in July 2024 alone, adds another layer of complexity. Student caps and rental market pressures are reshaping demand. Rental listings are near record highs, rents are stabilizing, and affordability is strained. Suddenly, the supply-demand equation that fueled sky-high rents is wobbling, leaving the market distorted and unstable. Even as the spring of 2026 approaches with promises of recovery and trade deals, confidence cannot be mandated from podium. The Real Estate Confidence Index sits in the 30s, a level previously seen only during pandemic chaos or 7% interest rates. Today, rates hover at 2.25%. Affordability is comparable to 2021 or 2022, yet sales are at a 25-year low. Buyers don't purchase based solely on math. They buy when they feel secure. Without stability, even attractive deals sit idle. Toronto condo prices are now back to 2019 levels. Cranes that once dotted the skyline have slowed to a crawl. Analysts warn that by 2029, new condo completions in the GTA could dry up completely. Oversupply fears could transform into a supply drought in a single cycle. Meanwhile, policymakers hesitate to allow prices to normalize because housing has become the backbone of the economy. Transaction taxes, construction jobs, lending volumes, municipal revenue all depend on rising prices. Falling prices expose the system's dependence on ever-growing asset values. Foreclosures and power-of-sale cases are rising. Banks are taking losses up to 48% in some distressed sales. This isn't a sideways market. It's a shake-up. Housing is no longer just a place to live. It's a financial instrument, and the volatility is inevitable. Corporate ownership, institutional investment, foreign capital, all layered atop domestic demand, have created a market that is fragile at its core. The real question now isn't whether the bottom has been hit. It's how much further prices might fall before stability returns that a healthy housing market is boring. It tracks wages, allows families to plan, and supports careers without panic. Canada, however, built a model where housing appreciation became a substitute for productivity growth. GDP per capita stagnates, but asset prices rise. On paper, everything looks strong, but the reality is harsher. Canadians are struggling to afford homes in the cities where jobs exist. Graduates are sharing apartments indefinitely. Families are delaying children, and many are planning to leave. Housing has become a gamble, not a foundation. And until that foundation is rebuilt, volatility, uncertainty, and opportunity will continue to define the Canadian real estate landscape.